Okay, so now what we're gonna be doing is we are, sorry if you shake there, gonna deal with local light on the setup. Okay, local light on the setup on the cylinder which is standing vertically. So one of the things that we need to understand is, as we are setting that local light, let's say this is a light source, we're looking at it from the top view, is we know that now with the local light it's gonna tangent and also cause that local light a little different, and also at the same time we are gonna get the shadow shape different also. So roughly we know that it's gonna our cast shadow now is gonna be a lot bigger. It's not like the sunlight where it's a little easier to predict. Alright, so the tangencies also are gonna still hit on the side, but guess what? The local light is gonna disperse out more. Do they have symmetry? Yes, they do. You want always to remember that the local light and the sunlight, when they're casting the shadows, those cast shadows will always have symmetry. But one of the differences is also we are going to experience, since the tangencies are here, right, sort of a more subtle, gradual value change that you're going to see as it goes towards the cast shadow. Okay, so because why? The tangencies, the core, will start happening here, and with the sunlight, if you remember, it's usually the number one read is pretty bright. Your number one is still here, right? And we'll talk about, you know, those elements, and basically your core now, yes, they are right across each other. So this is our core. So these elements are very important to observe as we are going to the vertical cylinder in local lighting, you know, as we step into that. So how do we calculate that? One needs to remember, now this is my scenario, one needs to remember that this is sitting on a plane, that perspective plane, that overall, you know, element of how that perspective plane is sitting is very crucial, very important for us to remember. Very, we also always want to recognize and to see where these all go, our light direction, shadow direction, and at the same time I'm still gonna name this A, B, C, and D. What we're gonna now know is we are going to know that our cast shadow is going to be larger. Obviously it's not going to be the same like the, you know, the cast shadow where we are dealing with in the sunlight. And now I'm going to start hitting the top, which is the light direction. Okay, light direction coming down, A1, light direction coming 2 for B sticks. I'm labeling it so it's easy, alright? So it's easy for us to remember it. Remember where and where our light directions and things that are dissecting and cutting through. That's very important. So we have our C sticks. So B is here. A1 is here, or A, right? A1, let's call it B1, C1. So we already know that our light or our shadow direction, or that cast shadow, it's already dispersing, just like what we discussed about some of the characteristics of the cast shadow of the local light scenario. So we're aware of that. We are, diligently planning now, planning to say, all right, how do I, get more points to sell or set up, to make sure my setup of the cast shadow is accurate. One of the things is using our perspective plane. What I'm going to do is also I'm going to just use that point to sort of make sure that I remember that the grid system is happening, because obviously making sure that all these come true is very, very important. So we know that on this end we have that point A1 to point B, but how do you want to curve it? What one can do is we could set up again more sticks, right? As I was saying in the local sun too, if one gets a little doubtful about their points of reference, one can always set up more sticks. Now, and then one can, it's basically like when you're drawing a circle or trying to create a circle, then you are establishing more points to draw that circle in that rectangle, right, to create that. So as we go along, we are also going to say we can call this E and F. So let's just call this E and F sticks. So now what I'm going to project down is E, and that's going to help me. So my E right now, E1 is right here, and then I'm also going to project down F1, and basically now, guess what? I have that angle, right? Or I have that circumference of where that cast shadow is going to be. And that's what's going to help me determine and again, I'm using this ellipse to sort of just guide my sort of points, right? More like using a French curve to kind of, hit the points. So now, obviously, if you wanted to, you could actually build more areas. Okay, so I'm building this, trying to hit all these points. Trying to find that curves, maybe the actual French curve might do a better trick. Just gonna get my French curve. Yeah, French curve. So this is my final. So now I have this whole area as already one side of my cast shadow, right? Now, are we going to have symmetry when we get over to the other side? Yes, we will, because we already agreed that in all these elements, when we are setting all these up, they have, these shadows have symmetry. Okay. Also, the tendencies. Now that what we are having, your core moves up, and it's not just right there, it moves up. So one of the things that when you're doing your values, you also have to remember that. So now we're going to calculate on the other side. There's one way you can do it is creating equal spaces to get to the other point. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to still use the sticks to show that how useful these sticks can be. So what I can do is I could launch F and G, and then basically to create points to establish my shadow direction to intersect my light direction. Now there's a lot of lines now, so that's why I'm using different colors. The more colors you do, the better it is. So the F and G, I'm going to cut the top. That's my F. And then G. I get right here, right? So now we know that that curve is right there. We can do another one, but we also know it's symmetrical. So if it is, your guess is as good as mine. One can already sort of figure out around somewhere in this is your cast shadow shape. So these are some of the things we can do in the local light vertical cylinders value. And thanks for watching.